And we're going to move on to solving inequalities using multiplication or division. So just as before, we're going to solve inequalities just like we did equations, except then we're going to have to graph them on a number line. So in this problem, we can see m divided by -3 is greater than 3. So we're going to have to multiply both sides by -3. Now, here's the tricky thing that when solving inequalities. Anytime you multiply or divide an inequality, we must switch or multiply or divide that inequality by a negative. We must flip or reverse or switch the sign, the symbol that's in between. So we have m left on the left-hand side. Now I'm going to flip that sign because I multiplied by this -3 here on both sides of our inequality. Now, 3 times -3 leaves me with a -9. Once again, we can check this and graph it. So first we're going to graph this. So m is less than -9. So we're going to make a number line here. Now we have -9. You got to be careful when you're making your negative number lines. You know the next larger number is -8. Then -7. The next smaller number, which would be to the left, would be a -10 and a -11. So when we graph this, just as in the previous lesson, we're going to have an open circle on the -9 because it's less than, and m is lower than -9, so we should be shading in all numbers lower than -9. Now we can check ourselves, okay? I'm going to try to make it easier and try to find a number that's easily divisible by 3. So I'm going to choose to use -12 because that's a number that's lower than -9. So I insert -12 in for m, and we're going to see if our inequality is true. -12 divided by -3 is a +4. Is 4 greater than 3? Yes. If we had not flipped that sign, this inequality would not be true. So always remember, you must multiply, when multiplying or dividing a negative number, let me restart that, a little tongue twisted there. When multiplying or dividing a negative in an inequality, we must reverse the sign anytime that happens. Let's do a multiplication equation. We have -10 times t is greater than or equal to 34. So we're going to divide this time, both sides by -10. We do the opposite. And we're left with t is greater than or equal to, now this is a power of 10, so 34 divided by 10, I know it's going to be a -3.4. Oh, I just caught myself, I made a mistake there. I divided by a negative number, so don't forget we must flip that sign and reverse it. So t is less than or equal to -3 4/10. So now we need to graph it. Now we have -3 4/10. Now, dealing with negative numbers and decimals, so there's several ways we could do our graphing here. Some people like to go by every one. I'm going to go by tenths. The next larger tenth on the negative side would be -3 3/10. Then -3 2/10. The next smaller tenth would be -3 5/10. Do a better job of writing this here. And then -3 6/10. Now, when I graph it, my symbol is less than or equal to, so 3 4/10, -3 4/10 can be part of the solution. So we're going to color in our circle, fill it in, and t is less than or equal to, so we're going to go to the lower numbers. And we have our solution. I have 2 more problems for you. Once you stop the video, you try them. Make sure you do your graph. Make sure if you multiply or divide by a negative, you flip that sign or reverse it. Okay, give it a try. So In this problem, we should have multiplied both sides by 6. And n is going to be greater than 42. Now, notice I didn't flip the sign this time. Because we're not multiplying by a negative, we're multiplying by a positive number. Do our number line. So we're looking for all solutions that are greater than 42. So open circle or closed circle on the 42. Hopefully you recognize that it's going to be open. And in all solutions greater than 42 could fill in for n. This time we're going to multiply both sides by a -4. We multiplied by a negative, so don't forget we must reverse the sign. So t is greater than or equal to -32. Putting this solution on a number line, very important, that way we can understand that all numbers greater than -32 are a solution for this letter, for this variable. This time we're going to put a closed circle on the -32 because it's greater than or equal to, and t is greater than, so we would be shading in the numbers to the right. So now we've worked with the adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing inequalities. You can see that they're exactly the same as when you solve equations.